Hello, in this video I want to quickly cover an accessibility issue that can happen when you're not careful with the units of measurement that you choose to size things in your web applications using CSS. So here I'm using an app I created for a prior video about color contrasts, and it's just a really simple HTML page I'm serving with npx live server on Node.js, and it's just making it so that as I make changes to this file that things change over here. You can see the title change there as I make those changes, and every time this reloads it just sets a new background color. It's not necessarily important for this, but that's what happens in this app, and there's just some text here that you can read on a gray background. Now a feature of web sites and the way the browser works by default is that you can actually scroll in and out to websites, and the size of things on the page should change. This is the expected behavior. This is not a bug. This is how things should go. It's an accessibility feature because I can simply on my keyboard hold the control key, and then I can scroll with my scroll wheel, and I can get this change in text size so that if some text is really small, I can actually zoom in to say 500% and view that text more easily, even if it's a certain size, hard-coded, so to speak, in the CSS. Now, a common thing that people will try to do is be clever with their units of measurement when they're learning CSS. So they think, well, okay, this default size is kind of small. It's maybe 16 point or 12 point font or something like that by default. And so I want to be clever, and on everything like a star selector or like the colon root selector to select everything in the entire site, in the entire HTML, and I just want to select all of that and just give any text a font size of, say, I want it to be like maybe 3% or 5% of the viewport height. So however high this is, I want it to dynamically change and be responsive to how big the window is, and take up only that certain amount of space. So I say I'm going to make this 3 VH, 3% of the viewport height, whereas if I made it 30%, it would be about a third of the viewport height would be the size of this text. So I'm going to make it 3 VH, and I think, oh, that looks a lot better. The text is bigger, it's more readable, it's actually more accessible because users who need larger text can see this better. The problem is that, first of all, it's on the viewport height. So as you shrink this, all of a sudden, well, the user's eyes have not changed, but your text is getting a heck of a lot smaller. So you can see how this is really probably not what the intended behavior you had was. And furthermore, now when you go to scroll, you'll see that certain things that are based on M, for example, rems, which is the height, canonically the height of an M character, on the root, those are changing, like the padding and the margin and stuff, they're changing as I zoom, but the text size is staying the same, and that's because the viewport height is staying the same. So all of a sudden you've created an accessibility issue because a user can no longer scroll to zoom and get that text size changing. So what you would much prefer to use if you want to increase the font size, you would want to generally respect the user's font size preference, but if you do want to create some globally larger text, you could use one of the keywords like larger font size, for example, or you could use extra large, extra large, and then you're still going to get that zooming in as you go in and out. You could also choose to use something like a root M, so the size of the text at the root, or an M, the size of the text at whatever element you're at. So say you want to make it, instead of 1 M, which would be the height, the normal height, if I take that off, you see nothing changes. If I want to make it 1 M, instead I could make it 3 times the size by making it 3 M's high, and as I zoom in and out, that's going to do what I expect, what I want it to do. And I could even make this a rem because the root and the element we're on have the same M size in this case because nothing has been changed otherwise. So we can make that based on rem, and now the zooming is happening the way it should, where things actually get bigger. You could also do this with, 16 pixels might be the default. Let's say that happens to be the default. That could be different based on the user's browser preference, but you could make that to be, 48 pixels high instead. I'll make it 3 times the size in pixels, and you're going to get that expected behavior, because it's not strictly a pixel on the user's actual display. It's more so a pixel is kind of a representation of a particular amount of size that can be scaled up and down. So just something to keep in mind accessibility wise. If you find yourself sizing things based on viewport height or viewport width or percentages, like you try to do something like font size of 50% or something, you could just run into weird issues depending on how you specify this, and it's better to use a measure like the font size enums, like large, larger, extra large, or to use a pixel size or a rem or an m, and not to use like viewport width or viewport height, and try to be clever with your responsiveness. Text is one of those things that you just want to be able to sort of have set across your app and have the users be able to manage those settings in their browser or zoom in and out as they please. So thank you for watching. Hopefully this is giving you a good rule of thumb for when you want to change the size of text, not to do it using clever tricks with the viewport size or percentages, but rather to choose those M's, those rems, the pixels, and the enums. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.